Hi, welcome to another episode of APS EdTech Bytes. Today we are going to focus on FigJam and specifically how to use FigJam for a one-tab experience in your classroom. So let's get started. The first thing I want you to know is that we have some session goals today. I want to be able to clarify the one-tab experience with you so you know what I mean. I want you to gain familiarity with using FigJam altogether. And then I want to offer an example of a learning unit using FigJam and this one-tab experience in mind. So first, this is FigJam. It is a digital whiteboarding tool that does so much more than just whiteboarding. It is an infinite canvas, so you can zoom in and out and see content from, a 10,000-foot view. And then you can also zoom in and make things closer to you. That means that you can arrange different topics in the same FigJam file if you wanted to, and then direct students to different sections. The toolbar for FigJam is it's loaded, but it's pretty simple. The first two things you have are your navigation tools. You have your select tool, which allows you to interact with content. And then you have your hand tool, which allows you to drag around the screen to move your view of the content. You then have a marker and highlighter tool. You can select what you'd like, choose a color, choose a thickness, and then you're able to annotate right on top of whatever is on your FigJam file. Same thing with your highlight tool. You are able to choose a color and a thickness, and of course that's going to be a bit more transparent. You do have an eraser here. If you choose the eraser tool and then touch on something that was annotated, it will go away. So that's the draw tools. You then have sticky notes. You select the color that you like, and then you can stamp it anywhere. The beauty of FigJam's sticky notes are that they are authored. So if your students are adding a sticky note to your file, it will have their name attached to it. Any of the elements that you add to a FigJam file are editable. So if you click on it again, you are able to resize that sticky note. And then of course, if you have it highlighted in blue and you press backspace or delete, it will go away. Next up, you have your shapes and connectors. FigJam is great for creating flowcharts, and that's really what these are designed for. So I can select one of these shapes, I can add it, and then I click this I click one of these directional arrows, and it's going to continue to add on to my flowchart for me. Of course, I can click and drag and select these and delete them if I want to. Next up, you have your text box tool, your section tool, which is how I've grouped all of these different pieces of content together. You have stamps, which allow you to add little icons to show agreement or disagreement onto your content. Students could use their Gmail logo or one of these other stamps to show understanding of a piece of content. Your final button here is your More tab. This is where you can access a bunch of stickers. You also have widgets, which I'll talk about more in a little bit, and your More column, which I will also talk about in a little bit. First thing I want to point out is that when we're thinking about a one-tab experience, you want your students to be able to access everything they need in one place. You want that one tab to house all of the content that they are going to need to access. So up here in my toolbar, I see that I have a place to rename my file if I want to, but then I also have the ability to add new pages. I can add different types of content to each page, and then what I can do is actually hyperlink, right? Create a link to those different pages so my students can navigate to different parts of the assignment. The three lines here is how I can actually get a link to this page. So perhaps I have my page 1 where all of my content lives, and then I have it differentiated by maybe student groups, student ability levels, choice, whatever it might be. I can hyperlink to different content throughout a FigJam file. Then we have our widgets. Our widgets are going to be interactive tools that we can embed inside of a FigJam file to allow for more interactivity, to allow for more engagement, and even to add our voice and face. So the first one I want to point out is using the alignment scale. Students could respond to a question, kind of like a Likert scale, on a scale of strongly disagree to strongly agree. So for here, I have just an example of the character's motivation is greed. The students could then decide if they agree or not. Their vote is recorded. And then you as the teacher could come in and reveal those results and see what the students respond. Another widget that's really great is the poll tool. It's essentially a multiple choice question, except it's not self-grading. So the students won't be able to know if they got their answer correct or not. All you do is you create the question here, set up some possible answers, and then you would click Start Poll, and then the students would respond with what they think the answer is, and you'll have a running tally of where your class is on this question. Another widget is the voice memo. This is where teachers or students could add this widget to their FigJam file and record up to 30 seconds of their voice. And then anybody who's a viewer of this file could then listen to that voice back. So all you have to do is add the widget and then click on the record button. And once you start recording, it will be recording your voice. You get your countdown thing here. You can press stop when you're done, and then you're able to review it by clicking play. You can also enter title for this. So your students could put their name there, maybe if there's more than one student in the file, or they could write a label for it. Finding these widgets is really simple. All you have to do is click on the plus icon here in your More tab, click Widgets, and then you can search for them in this list. There's lots of widgets we have available to you. Those are the ones I just wanted to point out for you. All you have to do is select the one that you want to add, and it will add it to your FigJam file. Photo booth is really cool as well. Anybody who has access to your FigJam file will be able to use your widgets. They could be just viewers or they could be editors. So that's how we could add some interactivity. Let's explore how we can embed some media to bring our other apps into our FigJam file. So the first is that we can add media from our computers. So if we click plus, click more, and then scroll down to where it says media, what's going to pull up now is my window, right? My downloads files, my documents, my desktop, all of that. I can find whatever that file is, double click it, and automatically upload it into my file. I can resize it, and that file is directly there for me. You can also do the same thing with links. So if you have a link to a Google Doc, a Google Slide, a Google Sheet, a YouTube video, a website, all you need to do is click that plus, click more, and scroll down to links. You can paste that public link from anywhere and embed it into your FigJam file. So for example, I have embedded here a YouTube video. The students can then click play, and the video will play inside of the FigJam file. Even if they press full screen, it's still within that same file. They press escape, and it goes back to the FigJam file. There's no need for them to go and explore elsewhere. Everything is contained in the file. Next up, we want to make sure we have an understanding of how we can share this one tab lesson with students. So the easiest way is if you're using Google Classroom to use the FigJam add-on. So when you go to make an assignment in Google Classroom, you're going to explore under add-ons and select FigJam. Then you'll add the FigJam file from there and choose make a copy for each student if you want everyone to have their own version of the assignment. If you say that everybody can edit the same document, then all of your students will be in the same file together, which might make sense for whatever the purpose is that you have for the lesson. You also have the ability in your FigJam file to share with specific students. You can add contributors via email, or you can get a link that anybody with the link in APS can either edit or view your file. So if you're not using Google Classroom, then you would use the share settings within your FigJam to do that. Last thing I want to do is show you an example of what a one-tab lesson could look like. This is specifically for a 5th grade lesson from the ELA curriculum Slavis that covers about 2 to 3 days worth of language comprehension and vocabulary activities. So I use the add more links button here to link to another FigJam file. So all you have to do is click view and it'll open up for you. Up here, I have 3 different pages, and they basically correspond to 3 different types of activities that my students would engage in. The first one is vocabulary. And what I did is I used one of the templates from FigJam for the Frayer model. I edited it to make it more adaptable to what I typically do with my students. But I put in the vocabulary from this week's name selection text, and the students could work on this Frayer model here. They could use text box tools, sticky notes, shapes, drawings, whatever they might need in order to complete the vocabulary activity. I also added links to dictionary.com and thesaurus.com in case my students didn't have those bookmarked. They could click on them and it would take them right where they need to be. Those, of course, will open up in a new tab, but the links are contained in one tab. Next up, we would go to our first read strategies. In this part of the lesson, students could take notes on sticky notes if it's a group or with text boxes, the different first read strategies, and responding to the weekly question. Next page are the weekly text activities. This is where I just took screenshots from the actual text, what students would see in their workbooks, and I put them into different sections based on when we would read them. We have our building background knowledge section. And because this particular weekly text requires students to have some background knowledge, I did go ahead and link a YouTube video here for them. And then I gave them guiding questions to work on underneath each one. So all I did here was I took screenshots, copied and pasted them into the FigJam file. I grouped this all into sections so that if something got moved, it would all move together. And then I just added little boxes down here with prompts that the students could respond to, either using text boxes or sticky notes. For some of them, I did add a voice memo widget so that students could respond using their voice if that works better for them, giving them lots of different opportunities to respond. The wonderful thing is that if your text does ask you to do some close reading strategies, you have the ability to underline and highlight all within your FigJam file right onto the text here. Hopefully that example gave you some ideas on how you could create your own one-tab lesson or use FigJam with your current lessons to allow students to have different opportunities to respond and collect their resources in one place. Thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you again in the next episode.